This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA, and of course nationwide over the airways of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style. Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Got a jam-packed show coming your way today. I'm looking at the television screen right now. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Greg Postel, P-O-S-T-E-L. He is the president of Louisville. He is addressing the media because Rick Pitino, two-time national champion, 7 trips to the NCAA Final Four, is out as the head coach of the Louisville Cardinals. I'll get into that in just a second. Obviously, there's a lot to get into in terms of the Dodgers clinching home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Whether or not being in Chavez Ravine is going to help them finally capture a World Series title for the first time since 1988. That's something that will be broached. We'll get into a big-time game. The Rams play the Cowboys this week. We got to pay attention to that. Let's see what Jared Goff does against them. That's something to get into. Of course, the Melo trade, the fallout from that as it pertains to the New York Knicks and the profound impact his departure will have on them. That's something to consider. We'll talk about that. D. Wade going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about whether or not what's a bigger move. Is it D. Wade going to Cleveland or is it Carmelo Anthony going to OKC? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the relevancy of the Los Angeles Lakers. And why should we even be thinking about them just because Lonzo Ball is there? I mean, if you really look at the Western Conference, are you really expecting anything from the Los Angeles Lakers other than maybe a trip to the playoffs as an 8th seed? Really? All of these things are things to consider. But the news of the day, the news of the moment, is that Rick Pitino, one of the greatest college basketball coaches in history, is out after 16 years at the University of Louisville. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, he deserves it. There's no other way to slice this. I feel terrible saying that. I'm a fan of Rick Pitino. I think he's a tremendous basketball coach who's done a great job at Louisville. I don't think anybody can deny that. They haven't been relevant since the days of Denny Crum until this man came along. Rick Pitino's record speaks for itself. Unfortunately, that's a double-edged sword because while his on-court basketball exploits as the coach speaks for itself, so does his off-court transgressions. They're labeling it on television, Rick Pitino on unpaid leave, but numerous reports says he's out as coach of the university, and he should be. He should not be brought back. Not to Louisville. And here's why. The United States Attorney's Office yesterday, United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York announced federal corruption charges against 4 NCAA assistant basketball coaches on Tuesday. The 3-year FBI probe focused on coaches being paid tens of thousands of dollars to steer NBA-bound players towards sports agents, financial advisors, and apparel companies. As announced by U.S. Attorney June H. Kim at a news conference on Tuesday, federal authorities have brought forth 2 distinct set of allegations. Under the first group of charges, the United States Attorney is alleging that assistant coaches at Arizona, Auburn, Oklahoma State, and USC, right there in L.A., took cash bribes. That would mean you, Mr. Tony Bland, USC assistant coach, took cash bribes. That's what the federal government is accusing him of. In order to steer elite basketball players towards certain financial advisors and sports agents. The assistants' names in the indictment are Mr. Bland of USC, Chuck Person, former NBA player in Indiana, out of Auburn. That's where he was an assistant coach. Emmanuel Richardson, Arizona. Lamont Evans, Oklahoma State. All black dudes, by the way. Let's call it like it is. Because you got a lot of black athletes. being recruited by black assistant coaches. And that's what this is. Each of the coaches are charged with bribery conspiracy, solicitation of bribes, honest services fraud conspiracy, honest service fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and travel act conspiracy. The U.S. Department of Justice said each of the coaches faces a maximum sentence of 80 years in prison. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, who's leading the Department of Justice right now? Could that be Mr. Jeff Sessions? Mr. Law and Order, rule of law, fixated on immigration reform and beyond, enforcing the rules of law that govern our country? That dude, who's about to embark upon a quest against those who choose and work diligently to silence free speech. He was on TV last night talking about that stuff. This Law and Order Attorney General heading the Department of Justice. This is the department that has said each of the coaches faces a maximum of sentence of 80 years in prison. Lord have mercy. I wish them luck on that one. Second set of allegations, which is where Pitino comes in. Authorities say that James Gatto, G-A-T-T-O, on behalf of an unnamed sportswear company, funneled six-figure payments to three players who, in exchange, committed to play for particular college programs affiliated with the company. Gatto is the director of global sports marketing for Adidas. This set of charges includes a reference to a, quote, public research university located in Kentucky, end quote. University of Louisville interim president Greg Postel, who I just mentioned, confirmed in a statement that Louisville is the school mentioned. So they are the public university located in Kentucky. They are the public university being accused of funneling six-figure payments to three players in exchange for a commitment to play for that particular college program. That means Louisville. That means Rick Pitino. That's what it means. Three of the four coaches were arrested Tuesday morning, along with James Gatto. Merle Code, another Adidas employee who formerly worked with Nike before Nike let him go. Christian Dawkins, a former NBA agent. And Munis Sood, a financial advisor. Now, for those of you who would sit up there and say, Stephen A., what does this have to do with Rick Pitino? My retort would be, you're not listening. Rick Pitino is the head coach at the University of Louisville. Louisville is the public research university located in Kentucky. Why is this a federal crime? Because you're talking about a school that receives federal funds. That's why the FBI is involved. The NCAA is about to get involved because the FBI didn't inform the NCAA of what they were doing. And the NCAA does not have subpoena power. The FBI does. And so them being involved is serious, serious business. I didn't think it was much yesterday because my attitude is this has been going on for years. Pay for play. Big-time college athletes entering a program. You think the programs didn't take care of them and their families? Who are you kidding? Of course they did. This is not new. But when we get to this level, you got a problem. Louisville President Greg Postel announced that effective immediately, basketball coach Rick Pitino has been put on unpaid administrative leave and that his employment will be reviewed at a later date. According to his contract, Pitino must be given 10 days notice before any firing can be official. So here's the deal. Basically, Postel is announcing the unpaid administrative leave, ladies and gentlemen, ostensibly because he has every intention of relieving Rick Pitino of his duties within 10 days because Rick Pitino's contract calls for 10 days notice. So you put him on unpaid administrative leave now, and then 10 days from now, you announce he's fired or that he has resigned or he has been relieved of his duties, whatever words you wanted to use. Here's why I support this decision by Louisville. You're Rick Pitino. 2010, extortion plot against you due to an extramarital affair that the lady decided she was going to try to dime you out about. You call her on it. You get the authorities involved. She ends up getting 7 years in prison. Still wasn't a good look for you. 2015, sex for play scandal. Assistant coach. Sitting there, got strippers and everybody else for these young athletes trying to come on campus. You claim to have nothing to do with that. Now this. 3 strikes and you're out, Mr. Pitino. Damn, it breaks my heart to say that. I respect this man so much as a great basketball coach. But as the saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. It's a duck. Too much smoke where Rick Pitino is concerned. Too much fire. As a result, the decision that needs to be made is obvious. We cannot disagree with Louisville on this matter.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Wondering where it goes from here with this whole investigation. Couple of things. Number one, could other programs or individuals face charges? Yes, because the FBI swears this investigation is ongoing. Interesting quote from the FBI spokesperson at yesterday's news conference, warning others who could be involved in corrupt practices. Quote, "We have your playbook. If you are involved in this, call us. It will be better for you to call us than for us to call you." And for those who might have the question, why is giving money to an assistant coach or a young basketball player against the law? Here's why. The charges brought forward include violations of federal statutes on bribery and wire fraud, among other laws. Any assistant coach found to be taking bribes while employed by an institution receiving federal funds, for example, could be liable for prosecution under federal law. That's the answer to the question. Here's where it also gets very, very interesting, y'all. And see, this is where the USCs of the world, even though UCLA isn't mentioned, all these big-time college programs, they're quivering, they're shivering in their boots right now. They're scared as hell. Let me tell you why. You got to remember these assistant coaches. As far as I can tell, guys, they're assistant coaches at Nike schools. But they were doing this underhanded work basically for Adidas. You got to remember the agent who represents Kristaps Porzingis and other players. His name is Andy Miller for ASG, management. Sports agency. His office was raided by the FBI just this past Monday. The day before yesterday's press conference. And so the belief is, and we don't know this because the FBI hasn't elaborated on it, but the belief is essentially he had something to do, directly or otherwise, with these coaches because money was exchanging hands and being funneled in some fashion to influence players to ultimately go to not only an agency, but a sneaker company, whether it was his or not. One would surmise it must be him because why would he be doing it for some other agency? See, when it comes to Pitino, let me be very clear. And I'm going to say something very controversial that's going to make my producer, Jonathan Winthrop, Nuno Texiera, Kat, make all of y'all a little bit nervous, but calm down. I know what I'm doing. This is how I feel. People expect me to be honest. I never had a big problem with the whole stripper scandal thing in Louisville. In other words, what I mean by saying I didn't have a problem with it, when you say the strippers, okay, fine. Because obviously if you're stripping, the belief is you're being paid. And you're paying players, you're paying somebody to influence players. Okay, here's the issue. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all I can tell you. I want to say this to y'all. When I was in college, I was 5'9", 5'10", 130 pounds. You have any idea how tiny that is? If the wind blew, it would have knocked me over. But I could really shoot. Let me tell y'all something. Did I go to North Carolina? No. Did I go to Duke? No. Did I go to UCLA? No. Did I go to Kentucky? No. Wasn't good enough. I went to Winston-Salem State University. I played for the legendary Clarence Big House Gaines. But when I pulled up to Brown Hall on the campus of Winston-Salem State, y'all, outside of my dormitory, it was a Division II school. There was 2 women there waiting for me to take me for a tour around the dormitory. Now, nothing happened. I want to be very, very clear about that. But I mean, damn, did you get the hint? I mean, if you're a young athlete coming to a university, one of the compelling, attractive things is to see, excuse my language, fine-ass women there. Let's just call it what it is. I can't deny it. I just can't deny it. We have to be honest about these things. We have to be honest. It's a recruiting tool used by everybody. Everybody. When Mike Krzyzewski recruited Christian Laettner to Duke, you think there were not any pretty girls just hanging around? Now, I'm not accusing them of being strippers. I'm not accusing anything of actually happening or anything like that because that's irresponsible. But in terms of the optics, you think they had a bunch of women, or if you're recruiting women, a bunch of men looking, well, damn it, looking like me, because I ain't the most attractive dude in the world. How about that? I mean, really? What do you think this is? I mean, listen, when's the last time y'all been to L.A.? Let me tell you something about L.A. You walk outside to take the garbage out. It's a fine woman in the vicinity. That's L.A. Now this, I'm speaking factually. I would know this. What do you think life is like when you roll on the campus of UCLA? Have you been there? Have you been to Westwood? Damn it, I think that's why they named the radio station Westwood 1. Westwood number 1. That's how fine some of those women are. I'm just tired of denying. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the PC talk. You ever been in New York City? You walk down Broadway? What you think you're running into? And with nothing but profound respect for those who swerve in a different direction, meaning you are gay, and that's not your flavor. But for the most part, people are attracted to the opposite sex. And in this case, since we're talking about college basketball, let's just restrict the conversation to men. When you go to a college campus, you may come from a poor and impoverished background. Money's important and all of that stuff. Ain't supposed to be doing it. It's kind of it's illegal. We understand. We get all of that. But I'm just expressing the point that the angle of women being problematic. I mean, to me, with Louisville, I'm like, what the hell you got strippers for? You don't need that. All you needed was gorgeous women standing outside the dorm where the guys would be staying. Let them pull up. You're recruiting them. Trust me, they see those dudes. They see them ladies. They're going to be influenced. Mark it down. It's a given. It'll never change. Ever. So I didn't make a big deal of the whole sex for play scandal. I'm trying to figure out what you pay anybody for. You don't have to. All dudes have to do is see fine women. They're going to go like this. I want to go there. Now the other stuff, extortion, and now this, totally different matter. But forgive me if the whole sex for play scandal I dismissed. Because when I tell you something is everywhere, sex on a college campus, ladies and gentlemen, that's as prominent and prevalent as cockroaches. You can book that. And I challenge any man on earth, to deny the facts of what I just spewed. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Extortion's not good. Wire fraud and all of that stuff and payment to the families, all that's not good. Breaking federal laws, oh, no. But sex on a college campus? Why don't you just say the sky is blue and get it over with?
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
I'm going to take a moment to give my producers love. Jonathan Winthrop, Nuno Texiera, Kat Pastor, her lovely self. Let me tell you something, man. Okay? Because I totally forgot about this because we want to be sensitive to these kind of things. I mean, my producer extraordinaire, Jonathan Winthrop, just reminded me, just keep in mind, some of those kids with the strippers were likely 17 years old. My bad. We certainly don't want to condone or endorse little kids in that kind of environment. Let's make sure we put that disclaimer out there. I completely forgot about the 17 years old. My bad. But I do have a rhetorical question. Would it make a difference if they were 18? Really? You see, this is the kind of stuff that's causing problems in our society right now. The nonsense. Like they feel the need to say to me, no, Stephen, they were 17 years old. No, they ain't 10, 17, 18, whatever. It's all the same. It's all at that point. Is there really, correct me if I'm wrong, Kat, Nuno, John, is there a difference between 17 and 18 other than actual federal laws? I mean, not that doesn't matter, but I mean, come on. What the hell you think kids are doing these days when it comes to sex? Well, I'm not going to touch anybody until I turn 18. I turn 18 October 14th, so let me wait until then because I'm only 17 right now. Stop. I don't have time for that hypocrisy on my radio show. I just don't have time for it. I just don't have time. I don't have the time for it. And I'm not going to do it. Rick Pitino had to go. Irresponsible ship run amok. Loose ship. Dereliction of duty. Everything. These coaches wiring money to players' families. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been going on for 30 years. Now, it's a federal law. You violate the law, they can arrest you. I mean, it's serious because you can end up in jail. They have subpoena power. The NCAA did it. That's why the NCAA couldn't find out such things. That's why the FBI kept it from them. We understand. That's very, very profound. Extortion, how this woman that Pitino had, if not an affair, an occasion, whatever the hell you want to call it, in a restaurant on a table, if I remember correctly. I mean, look, he was married. Not me. That's his personal business. Ain't none of my business. But since he made it our business by diming a woman out for trying to extort him, and she ended up getting paid, getting sentenced to 7 years in prison, I guess we got to take that seriously. And I'm certainly not sitting up there and advocating that there's anything okay with programs being associated with strippers when you got young kids sent to these programs by their parents who want their children in an upstanding environment. I'm not condoning it. What I'm saying is, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to sex, all bets are off. There ain't a college program that you can point out on any level that don't try to use sex as a recruiting weapon. I promise you that. I mean, a coach comes up to me and say, I might try to slap him myself a line. Obviously, I'm being facetious there, but you know what I'm saying. That's nonsense. You out of high school, you getting away from mom and pops or the family for the first time? You're away from the family on a college campus? And you think the coach wanting you for their program are not going to have women in front of your face from the second your wheels touch the campus lines? Are you nuts? Of course they are. Of course. And the reason why I bring that up is because, let me tell you something, no program is safe. No program is safe. But if there is a program that is safe, let me tell you the irony in all of this. It would be programs, even with Tony Bland and his apparent transgressions at USC. It would be UCLA, USC that would be, you know, they're in a better position. Do you know why? Because places like Louisville might have to sell a little bit harder. You come out to Southern California, you ain't got to do much. You know all you got to do? Take somebody for a stroll around campus and then take them out in the streets of L.A. and let L.A. do the talking for you. You ain't got to go through all of that. Louisville, you might need a little bit more help. That's just the way it is. We need to stop lying about it. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. We're also going to get into these protests because President Trump spoke again yesterday. Got to get into that too. But before I do any of that, listen to Dick Vitale talk about Rick Pitino's imminent dismissal. Check this out.
You know, you could say so many times, you know, I'm not aware, but you're aware of who you hire on your staff. Shoe companies for years now have been unbelievably powerful, like you can't believe. I ask one simple question to all the people there. If the kid Bowen, as alleged and as indicated, and certainly they know what they're doing in terms of the FBI, I mean, this is as big as it gets. And the FBI has got facts, they got documentation, they got rooms, videos, the whole bit. Bottom line is, I think it's been proven, basically, that $100,000 from Adidas was offered and given to that young guy's family. Okay? I ask one question. All the stars playing today, we think certain coaches are great recruiters. Do you think that maybe that deals aren't set up with advisors, with parents, with family members before that kid? Why would some of these superstars who are looking here, many of them would say, hey, that guy's getting $100,000? Are you kidding me? Bowen's a very good player. But is he what we've had over the years? You think about some of the greats that play. And I think now with the FBI involved, this is only the tip of the iceberg of what they're going to start. I think the scandal for a guy that loves the game like I do, in the later years of my life, I eat, sleep, and drink college basketball. It breaks your heart. I mean, we're not naive to know. We've heard rumors for years about what's transpired. But these are more than rumors now. I mean, it's sad. Just like I'll give you another one that blows my mind. The academic geniuses. A kid is a junior. Kids are juniors in June, and all of a sudden, in August, they graduate, reclassify. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I'm not blaming any school involved. I think the high schools, I think people behind the scenes, wheel and deal, they become Rhodes Scholars. It's a joke. It's a joke. The term student athlete's a joke. When we talk one and done. And it's about time we do something about all of this. We need a czar. We need somebody in charge, a command, a guy that can take charge, representing college basketball when the rumors come down to do something about it. I am upset, frustrated, and disgusted to hear all what I'm hearing now. It's a shame. It's sleazy. It's no good. It's ugly. And it really just breaks my heart.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
What I said applies to any star athlete. Christian Laettner, Jay Williams at Duke, Michael Jordan at North Carolina, Chris Paul or Tim Duncan at Wake Forest. I'm just throwing out names. I don't know anything. I'm simply saying, if you're a star recruit and you show up on a college campus, I promise you, there's going to be women in the vicinity. Because universities use that to sell. That doesn't mean they're asking anybody to engage in any salacious activity or anything like that. I'm talking optics. When this dude strolls up on campus and shows up at this party, you know, why are you taking him to the party for? Didn't Spike Lee show you that? In the movie with him and Ray Allen and Denzel Washington? I mean, Spike Lee depicted very, very accurately what goes on college campuses. What about Blue Chips with Shaq and Nick Nolte in them? These are not accidents. Open your eyes. Pay attention. Mike in Denver, talk to me, big boy.
What's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm good. Go ahead, man.
Man, I'm just sitting here going over this Rick Pitino stuff, man. You know you hitting it on the head, just calling it just like it is. Any star athlete going on recruiting trips, there's going to be women waiting at the door, inside the door and out the door. It's been going on for years, man. You know, I experienced myself when I was going to college, but you know, you just got to just keep educating them today through the show, man, and you know they're gonna get on the message. So, you know, Rick Pitino, man, he just had too many run-ins, like you say.
Too many run-ins. Too many run-ins. He's got to go. It's irresponsible. You got to show some level of leadership and what have you. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. But that stuff about the women, they ain't got nothing to do with leadership. I mean, you show up in Pitino and Louisville's case, if strippers were involved, obviously that's different because they got no business doing that. I'm saying you don't have to.
Right.
Any star athlete show up on a college campus, the first thing you do, you drop your bags in your dorm room and you go looking for where the women are. It's the first thing you do. It's the first thing you do. We already know.
Got somewhere for you to go there.
You already went. They already got it. They already told you where to go. They already told you where to go. Come on now. Let's stop this nonsense. We ain't gonna have no fake conversations on this show. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. Appreciate it, Mike. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks so much, man. Alteric in North Carolina. You're live with Stephen A. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, what's up, Stephen A?
Talk to me, bro. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I've been trying to get up with you for the
Well, you here now. You only got a couple of minutes. Make the most of it. Go ahead.
Hey, I want to talk about Donald Trump, man. You know, if anybody, what does he have to do to get impeached, man? Like, this dude is the Antichrist. He fits the whole criteria of the Antichrist. You understand what I'm saying? What does he have to do to get impeached?
Well, he has to break laws. He has to compromise the well-being of this nation. And there has to be a consensus against him that feels that's what he's doing. You've got 62 million plus Americans that believe in him. They voted for him. You've got a bevy of congressmen and senatorial figures who believe in him. You have tens of millions of Americans who believe in what he believes in, and just like you have tens of millions of Americans who don't. That's what our nation is predicated on. And so what we have to do is understand that we can't put everything on the president. Listen, a matter of fact, we might be giving too much credit to the president. Let me ask you a question. How's that wall coming along? How's immigration reform coming along?
Yeah.
How is repealing and replacing Obamacare coming along?
Okay.
So what I'm saying to you is that it's the beauty of our democracy. Sometimes we need to put stuff on pause and just say, listen, I'm scared, I'm petrified of his behavior because I think that's the kind of stuff that could get us into a war.
Yeah.
But in terms of his politics, whether I agree with or disagree with it, I have faith in our nation that the people will influence the senators and the congressional figures he has to go through in order to get stuff legislated. I believe in us as a nation and do not believe that we should be as panicked as we are on too many occasions. That's my firm belief.
Yeah, you're right on that, you know, but like I said, man, you know, North Korea worries me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you this question. How would you feel if conservatives said we want Obama impeached when he was in office because they're diametrically opposed to his views and his ideology? What would you have said then?
I mean, I understand that point you're making, you know, but as far as politics, you know, that's totally different when you're talking about life. You know what I'm saying? Like, this man is, you know, about to have us in a nuclear war, man.
Well, some people would sit up there and say you had some people that I don't know how accurate this is or not, because I'm not an aficionado, but you do have some people blaming Obama for ISIS, because by pulling troops out of Iraq, you empowered, you know, Saddam Hussein's militia there, which ultimately became ISIS, and that's what they feel about that. I'm not an expert. Please don't quote me on it like that, because I don't know. What I'm saying is people have their own beliefs that are diametrically opposed to yours. If they were calling for what you supported for impeachment, you would have a problem with it. And if they had to deal with him for 8 years, why can't we deal with what we're dealing with for 4 years, so long as this man doesn't get us in a war? That's what we have to start asking ourselves about, and refrain from being but so extreme about it, in my opinion.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Here's one of the things that I want to say. Moving away from Pitino just a little bit before I get to the calls. Rick Pitino, effectively, according to his agent, has been fired. His contract calls for a 10-day grace period before any dismissals take place or anything like that. So the university has put him on unpaid administrative leave for the next 10 days, at which time he's expected to be officially fired as head coach of the Louisville Cardinals. I'll get back to the phones on that in just a little bit. But I wanted to transition to the NFL protests. It's obviously something that we've been discussing because of Trump's words and President Trump's words or what have you. Let me state something. I'm going to reiterate something that I said a lot. I don't consider myself a Democrat or a Republican. I consider myself an independent. I try to be an independent thinker. I'm not down with the party affiliations, although, you know, it's helpful when you're trying to vote in the primaries and things of that nature to be affiliated with one party or the other, strictly for those purposes. Having said all of that, I think it's important to note this. I just pride myself on being fair. I am a black man that recognizes that we have problems in this country. Prejudice, inequality, racism, bigotry. Those are very, very real issues. You know what else is a real issue? Black on black crime. And when folks from different ethnic communities bring that up and highlight how that is a problem, that is not something that should be ignored nor dismissed. Yes, there is brutality on the part of some police officers. Yes, that is something that should be brought to light and focused on to some degree. But it's not like we as black people have a license to ignore what we do to each other just because of someone else, what someone else is doing to us as well. It's very, very important that I say that. And the reason that I say that is because we're living in polarizing times. We have a president who's polarizing. I have no issue with conservatives. Even though my mom primarily voted Democrat, I'm here to tell you, I was living in a conservative household. I don't give a damn what anybody says. My mother is someone that you could have easily accused of being a walking contradiction. She was adamantly opposed to abortion. But she firmly believed in a woman's right to choose. She thought that the decision was between her and God. My mother was adamantly in support of gay rights. Didn't necessarily want it in our household. The list goes on and on and on as to what one's individual beliefs are and how it didn't necessarily coincide with how they voted. But above all else, there was a mentality in the home to live and let live and to keep an open mind and to judge people by their own individual content of character, not by the color of their skin. My mother was from a mixed marriage. My grandmother was white. And so when I see the president going out and everybody's going off and using his words as an excuse to attack him when in fact it's his politics, his policies, and whatever that really they find repugnant. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people that believes the prism of history will tell me what was beneficial and what was not. Some things are flagrant, no doubt. Some things I might have a problem with. HBCUs, the money that used to be allocated that no longer is the case. I'm sensitive to that, along with various other things, but I'm not an aficionado. I'm not a political talk show host. I simply don't know what a Joe Madison to a Sean Hannity or a Karen Hunter to a Mark Levin knows. I just don't know. So what I try to do is use common sense and be fair. When I get on our president, I get on him for one reason and one reason only, his behavior. That I'm qualified to speak of. Sending 24 tweets over the weekend. And attacking, folks in the NFL, and prior to that, attacking or going off about Steph Curry and uninviting him when he never invited you, when he never wanted to be invited in the first place, and all this petty nonsense. You 71 years old, you acting like you 17. That's my issue with the president. Deeper, more informed and educated minds can get in deep with the policies and beyond. I'm talking about surface stuff. I believe that the presidency is the ultimate statesman's position, that you represent millions upon millions of Americans, and how you conduct yourself and the words you choose to use, if you ain't careful, can cause wars. And I'm highly sensitive to the insensitivity he appears to have to the importance of that part of the job requirement. I'm not speaking about anything else. As it pertains to Colin Kaepernick's protest, we have to accept two realities. Number one, Colin Kaepernick was never kneeling against the American servicemen and women who've represented our country or the flag. He was highlighting what the flag is supposed to mean and accusing many Americans of violating it. And that's what he wanted to bring attention to. The flip side to it is that there are many, many millions of people out there who don't give a damn what he says. That's how they interpret it. And they despise him because of it. They believe he's disrespecting the flag in our country, and they despise him for it. No matter what he says. That's the divide. And it isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Carlton in Tampa. He has moved from Massachusetts. He is now in the Sunshine State of Florida. Tampa, to be specific. No doubt warmer and far more comfortable than living in the Northeast. You are live with Stephen A. Good afternoon.
I lived in the same town up in Massachusetts as Bill Belichick, and his henchmen were closing in on me, so I had to flee to Florida to keep one step ahead of him. But the reason I called today, I saw your roundtable discussion on First Take this morning with Damian Woody, Will Cain, Max Kellerman, you, and also Molly, okay? And Will Cain said something that resonated with me. And what he said was this whole Colin Kaepernick thing has become a lot of nothing. It's unfocused.
Who said that? Who said that? Will or Max?
Will. Okay, Will Cain said it. And specifically, he was also referring to Aaron Rodgers' now desire to get all the fans to lock arms.
Yes.
He said it's unfocused. It started off as being about police brutality on unarmed blacks. Then it became Colin Kaepernick getting a job. Then it became the national anthem and respect for the military. And now with Aaron Rodgers, it's about national unity or, everybody getting together. And he's 100% right, and it's unfocused. But there's a historic opportunity right now because we have an enormous number of NFL players as well as some NBA players that are all searching for a way to improve life in African American communities around this country, okay? And what needs to happen is some leaders, and I propose guys like Ray Lewis and Colin Kaepernick and you and on your competitor network, Shannon Sharp, getting together. And if you guys could develop just a 5-point or a 3-point plan as to what you would like to see, and the NFL, all these NFL players would have to sign on it, what they want to see to improve life in the NFL community, you could make a change. Right now, you could make a significant change in the lives of a lot of African Americans. Here's my proposed 5-point plan, Stephen A. See, and all pro sports players ought to be able to agree to this, okay? First off, we need accountability in schools in African American communities. All these players, they went to college. It changed their lives. And part of this is self-reflection. In other words, we've got to hold these African American administrators accountable for producing people that can read and write and do math, okay? That's point number one. Point number two, we need to propose funding for sports teams and arts programs. All these players benefited from those things, and we need to divert these kids from entering gangs or criminal activity. So that's point two. Point three, we gotta stop the incarceration of primarily black men for minor drug offenses. In fact, I'd clean the jails of these people.
I totally agree with that, which is one of the things that President Obama tried to do. Go ahead.
And all NFL players could get on board with that because many of them have encountered substance abuse in their own lives. Point four, we need to increase federal funding for drug rehab programs to get these people who are addicted off of them. Because if you got parents who are addicted to drugs, kids ain't going to be able to learn. Their parents don't care if they do their homework or don't care if they succeed in school. And five is we need to have counseling programs to convince teenagers, both males and females, to have respect for themselves and not incur pregnancy at a young age, because you're ill-equipped for your future. Your future's going down the drain if all of a sudden you've got responsibilities of bringing up kids when you're still a kid. Now, if the NFL, if these players or leaders of these players could get together and say, here are concrete measures that we want to campaign for that will change lives in the African American community, and they can all sign on it, maybe we can convince that dolt in the presidency to get on board and change some of this stuff. But they're all searching. These guys are all searching for something that they can get behind to change life.
I got you. I got to interject. I totally agree with you. I get where you're coming from. And in no way are you trying to act as if these problems only exist within the African American community. That's not the only place it exists. But at the same time, it is a problem. All of those problems that you mentioned are legit, and all of your suggestions are things that should be taken into strong consideration. I don't doubt it at all, and I know I'm going to try to do my part to address the issues. I can tell you that much. Carlton, I appreciate your time, buddy. I got to get to some other calls, but thank you so much. And your words were very, very profound, and the advice that you gave and the suggestions that you gave are incredibly appreciated. Thank you. Let's go to Henry in Atlanta. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Henry?
You put me on around the cards, and that was a nice one. And I was trying to call you and tell you with the money and the women in college football, it seems like a lot of that have to happen so you too win a championship, like SMU or Colorado or even Miami.
It seems like a lot of what has to happen, Henry.
When they bring in the young guys, like remember when Miami was winning and Luke Skywalker was down there, and when they come in.
Yeah, 2 Live Crew. Go ahead.
Yeah. And that way,
Luke Campbell.
Who's going to turn that down? I go to college right now. If Luke came and took me in down in Miami, I'll go sign up.
Well, listen, what you're doing is confirming what I'm saying, that these kids go on college campuses 17, 18 years of age, and women, it's a given. They don't ask the women to do anything. Women don't have to be asked to do anything. The fact of the matter is, you show up on a college campus, there's usually women there. If you're a guy, that's the first thing you're looking for. You're looking for the women quicker than you're looking for a basketball or a football. There's just no question. It's an absolute fabrication to believe otherwise. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you, Henry. Let's go to Lawrence in Texas. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Hey, Stephen A. Hey, I was on the radio earlier, and I was listening to a local ESPN station, and they were making a point, because I'm a retired disabled veteran, but anyways, they were making a point of, as far as the way the football's going, they made the point of, what are we going to have to do next? Are we going to have to be told to stand, and all this stuff? And it just hit me the wrong way, because what the flag means to me and a lot of veterans is, I don't know if you've ever seen, because I know you fly in and out of airports, but if you've ever seen an airplane full of veterans coming home with the flag draped over their coffin, and you sit there and see your brothers like that, that's what the flag means to us. And I know everybody has the right to protest in their own way, and it's a nonviolent protest when you're kneeling before the flag. But for us, the flag, we stand for the flag. The soldiers stand for that flag.
Can I stop? Can I interrupt you?
I don't care.
Lawrence, stop. I need to interrupt you because I have a question. I appreciate your point. First of all, thank you to your service for your service to our country. I appreciate your point so much, but I must ask you and any veteran out there a question. Are you listening to me, Lawrence?
Yes, sir.
What was your position years ago when the NFL didn't even require that teams and players come out onto the field to be a part of the singing of the national anthem?
I don't like that.
What I'm saying, listen to the way I'm going. For years, it was never even required. I never heard anything about that. It wasn't until 2009, after the NFL was being paid, by the way, all right, by the Department of Defense, or I think that's who it was, or whatever, by the federal government. The NFL was being paid to promote patriotism. It was paid patriotism. Senator John McCain spoke out about it. This was taking place in 2009. Before then, athletes, these guys, these NFL players, were not even coming out onto the field to sing the national anthem. Where were y'all then?
Okay. I mean, I can't argue with you there, but I mean, I'm just saying for right now, in this moment, in this time, is what I'm saying.
I got you.
But Stephen A., if they want to protest against the cops,
I got you. I truly have your point. You said that a couple of times, and I got to get ready to go. I get you. I mean, no disrespect. I just got to go to break, but I'd like you to keep this in mind. Somebody sent this to me yesterday. Before September 11th, 2001, obviously, World Trade Center goes down, our terrorist attack against this nation. College basketball teams left the court and went into the locker room for the national anthem. They returned to the court after the anthem was played. No one complained. No one complained. So this need to bring up the national anthem and patriotism and all, where was all of this? Wasn't there in 2001. Wasn't even there in 2008.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Back to the phones. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Dwight and Yonkers, talk to me. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A.
Go ahead, man.
All right, I want to talk about Rick Pitino. I know you said you wasn't, but I caught on First Take. I'm very disappointed in him. I hope when all the facts come out, and if he did know about it, he should go to jail. But now my second one for you is, I heard on First Take, I don't know if it was you or Max, said that Melo is the third option on Oklahoma City.
He is.
I mean, it wasn't you, Stephen A.
It was.
I know you know better.
Listen to me. Don't talk to me like that. Listen, educate yourself. He is the third option because I spoke to Oklahoma City. I'm not guessing. I'm telling you what they're saying.
Huh? But I don't see it.
I'm telling you.
Way better score than
I'm telling you what they're saying. In other words, the guards are going to have the ball a lot of times. And when you look at Melo, he's going to be, they're not speaking about it negatively. It's only going to be really three people shooting the ball. How many shots you think Steven Adams or Roberson going to get? It's going to be three people shooting the damn ball.
As long as Melo's getting that open pass where he's wide open to hit that 3 or the 2.
Well, who the hell is going to pass? So now I got to question your knowledge about basketball. Who's the hell going to pass up giving Melo the ball if he's wide open?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. So then what you worried about whether he's 2 or 3 for?
Because I still say he's a superstar. Paul George ain't there yet. He's number 2, Paul George number 3. But real quick, Dwayne Wade made a mistake going to Cleveland. He should have came over to Oklahoma. So now what you saying? He going to take J.R. Smith's spot?
No. First of all, he would, number one. Number two, the reason why you don't want him in Oklahoma City, is because he ain't trying to come off the bench. And if you start him, but you put Paul George in at the 3, then you have absolutely nothing coming off the bench. And so the point is it's a better situation for him in Cleveland. Not to mention the fact Dwayne Wade ain't trying to be in OKC. Melo there because he got traded.
Right, but
a free agent ain't trying to go to OKC.
All right. Do you think he's going to start or he's going to come off I don't see him want to come off the bench.
I think he's going to start ahead of JR. Why wouldn't he?
Ooh.
Hold on. JR don't have no problem coming off the bench.
He does.
Do you see what JR
waited a long time? I followed his career.
Oh my God! You gonna tell me about basketball now? Really? That's where we are. Yeah, I covered JR in New York. JR does not have a problem coming off the bench at all. He has a problem if he has a problem if his minutes are drastically diminished. But he ain't gonna have a problem whether he's playing or coming off the bench, especially when he got the green light to light it up when he comes off the bench. He ain't got to fit in. You got to fit it around him because he's your spark plug who'll go off the bench.
Okay.
That's J.R. Smith's best work of his career when he came off the bench.
Now, real quick, because I know I'm running out of time.
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
You think we got a shot? You think we're going to make the play? We got a nice team.
The Knicks stink. Stop it. Porzingis is good. They're going in the right direction in terms of being in a rebuilding mode and not trying to hide it like Phil Jackson did. Knicks ain't going nowhere this year. Get that out your system. Got to go. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. We're talking Rick Pitino. It's appropriate to have our next guest on, college basketball analyst extraordinaire, Seth Greenberg for ESPN. He's up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Always great to have my next guest on the line, college basketball analyst extraordinaire, Seth Greenberg, former head coach at Virginia Tech, by the way. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Coach, good afternoon. How are you? Good morning. How are you?
Stephen A., life is interesting to say the least, but I'm doing well.
Interesting would be one word. Sad would be another. You and I spoke last night face-to-face off air when we were both doing Sports Center, and you talked about what a devastating blow this is to college basketball. Now, just hours later, Rick Pitino, essentially for all intents and purposes, according to his attorney, is fired. 4 assistant coaches have been arrested and indicted on multiple charges. The FBI says this investigation is continuing. Put this all together for us. What does this mean for college basketball right now?
I think the last 48 hours changes the landscape of college basketball as we know it. I think this season will be under one of the darkest clouds I can remember, and I grew up a basketball fan. My dad played for LIU back in the day and was actually a member of a team that was part of a huge fixing scandal. He wasn't part of it, but and is one of the biggest scandals in the history of the game. But what's going on right now, Stephen A., when I say it's changing the landscape, is because the game is where we see it today. Rick Pitino and Brian Bowen. Tomorrow, who knows who's the next domino that will fall. Practice starts on Friday. Teams will change day to day. Coaching staffs will be eliminated. People will lose their jobs. Players will be ineligible. Some will be ineligible a month into the season. There could be some that all of a sudden show up and ineligible in the middle of the season. The landscape of our game has been impacted, and I think that it's going to be a continual process because this investigation is ongoing.
Of all the charges that have been thrown out there, levied against these coaches at Auburn and Oklahoma State and USC and all of this other stuff, I mean, what's the most egregious part of these charges that have been put out there that really rakes your nerve, that's really got you up in a tizzy right now?
See, the one that's most egregious to me is the assistant coaches that were taking money to deliver players to money managers and agents. The role of a coach, excuse me, as a mentor, the role of a coach is to help someone get somewhere they can't get themselves. The role of a coach is to work together with that person to help them be the best version of themselves. The role of a coach is not to benefit from the student athlete by being paid to use them, basically tip them out for their own benefit. And to me, look, players have been bought forever. Let's not fool ourselves. Excuse me. But that's happened. It used to happen with money in a paper bag. Used to be a refrigerator on the front door, a recruit full of food, whatever it is. But for a coach to go and pimp one of his players who basically entrusted their career to them, I have a hard time with that. I just, Well,
let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question, Coach. Do you find it plausible that these things could have been happening behind the head coach's back, that the head coach is innocent in all of this, may not have known anything that was going on?
Some of them, yes. Like here's my thing, Stephen A., is that, excuse me again, if that coach is trying to make money for themselves, for their benefit, not for the program's benefit, not for the head coach's benefit, but for their own benefit, I would think that's happening behind the head coach. Now, if that, say, a different person is trying to use that money manager to pay a player to secure the abilities of, to secure a prospect, I would think there's a better chance that that coach potentially could be informed. But look, hey, Stephen, you've been around this thing forever.
Yeah.
I was an assistant coach for a long time. Been a head coach for 22 years. My job as an assistant coach is to take things off the head coach's plate, not put things on him. My job as an assistant coach was to develop relationships and trust so that people that we're recruiting, when we're not there, someone in that room was working for us. Not every money manager's a bad guy. Not everyone runner's a bad guy. Not every agent's a bad guy. Not every AAU coach is a bad guy. But in some instances, there's a synergy between them all. And when there's a synergy between them all, there's probably more people involved.
Is there equal concern for all of these guys, the 4 assistant coaches, since they were arrested? And according to the U.S. Department of Justice, each of the coaches faces a maximum sentence of 80 years in prison. Is there equal concern for all of them? Or when you look at the name, Chuck Person out of Auburn, Emmanuel Richardson out of Arizona, Lamont Evans at Oklahoma State, Tony Bland at USC, is there one that stands out above the others in terms of having more reason for concern for them than the others?
No, I would say Chuck Person is the one that jumps out of me just because he was absolutely selective and I wouldn't say exploited, but basically his testimony and the wiretap, they used him as the example of all that's bad.
Now explain that. Let me stop you, Coach. Explain that, because I've been reading a lot, because I've been on the airwaves. I haven't heard anything about the wiretaps. Tell me about that real quick and what you just alluded to with Chuck Person and the wiretaps. Educate my listeners about that.
Yeah, they have a wiretap that basically Chuck Person basically says, this is my guy, I control him, he trusts me. And then there's a later wiretap that basically says, look, I'm delivering him, when's the money coming? When am I getting my money?
Wow.
And, and to me, they used Chuck Person as an example, which means I think that obviously that has to be the most egregious. But here's the other thing. The play, and not in that situation, but just in the business of the business, let's be honest. The players or their advisors or their parents or someone involved with them, they're culpable also, because they're the ones that are setting the market. They're the ones that are saying, hey, I want my piece of the pie. You want my son? You want my friend? You want my player? You want whatever? Back in the day, people when the high school coaches were involved, high school coaches were involved in basically cutting the deal. Today, it's third parties. It's, it could be a money manager, it could be an agent, whomever. But these type of things have been going on forever. It's just the sophistication because the amount of money that's entails has changed the game. But the prospects, extra benefits and soliciting those extra benefits, if that's the situation, those people are culpable and those people should be held accountable.
I hear you, Coach. This is a serious matter, and just so you know, in case you didn't, I'm sure you probably did, but based on the arrest of Chuck Person, who was caught on tapes, like you just said, with the wiretaps, the University of Auburn reportedly is offering full refunds for basketball season tickets as we speak. Coach, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Thank you for having me.
No problem. One and only Seth Greenberg right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio. What an absolute mess. What an absolute mess.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
We got this show's nationwide. Sirius XM. Yeah, we're in New York, LA, but we're also nationwide. And listen, on this show, you got a lot of Trump supporters. You got people out there that want me to support the president. Let me explain something. There is no American citizen who should be rooting against the president. Because if the president fails, we all fail. I want to make sure that I'm emphatically stating this. You don't hear me getting into the politics. Some things I agree with, some things I disagree with. I was the same way with Obama. But the issue is clear. When it comes to Trump, we're not talking politics. We're talking behavior. You got to know how to act. Your words could get us in trouble. He just tweeted about how Iran tested a ballistic missile that could reach Israel. Then he says not much of an agreement with Iran. We don't need to hear all of that right now. Just handle it. Just handle it. Scaring the living hell out of us. That's the issue. It's not politics. It's behavior. You can disagree with Pence politics all you want to. Will we be saying this stuff about him? No. Because he's a statesman. And we'd appreciate that from the president. That's all. Nothing more. Nothing less. Back to the calls before we get on out of here. Real quick, I'm keeping you close and tight. Make your points real quick and then be prepared to get the hell out. Stephen in Minnesota, talk to me.
Stephen A., kudos on your last comments there.
Thank you.
2 things. That gentleman that called in from Florida, got them 5 steps. You have so many listeners that respect you. The only thing I would change on that is you get your group of people together. You make that phone call to the President of the United States. Because yesterday you said you've sat down with him. He'll talk with you. He listens to you. You listen to him. That would be a good thing to do because
I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to reach. I made efforts to reach out to the president last night. I'm going to make those efforts again today.
Thank you. And my second, I want to try and answer that question for that veteran that couldn't. In 2001, ESPN and all these sports channels didn't have 10, 15, 20 channels. Mm-hmm. Everybody didn't go to a football game with a cell phone. They didn't have 30, 40 cameras out there.
Got it.
When the people stood for the national anthem, it was for the flag, the veterans and all that. Now everybody has a camera. This nation's been divided since this war has started.
Right, I got it.
Back when Bush, Obama, and now President Trump, all these guys. It is so divided. Now you see one thing do it. You got all these cameras, all these people, and everybody's saying different things about it.
Stephen, I got to run, so I'm going to hold you back there, but call back tomorrow, and I'll get you on earlier so you can make more of your point, all right? I appreciate the call, though. Chris in L.A., real quick. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen, I wasn't going to talk about sports, but I actually wanted to talk in regards to the topic you guys touched on today at First Take regarding the fire chief in Pennsylvania and what he had to say about Coach Mike Tomlin of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and he resigned. And he resigned.
He did resign?
Yes, he did. He resigned today.
Okay. Okay, good. So, but I just wanted to say I 100% disagree with Max on what he said, that you have to look at the parents. I 1,000% disagree with that because, like you mentioned on First Take, you always have those bad apples. You can't go blaming parents for an adult who publicly states something on Facebook. I just want to throw that out there, and I just disagree with Max, and I agree with you on what your points and what you said on First Take.
I appreciate it, man. Have a good day. Listen, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close the show out by saying this. This is a nationwide show. And I'm not, listen, there are sometimes I lean towards conservative and sometimes I lean towards progressive and liberal views. I'm not a one-dimensional cat. I'm not a one-trick pony. And I don't take the side just because it's popular. I'm a man of the people. I ain't running for office, but I'm a man of the people. And just because you're different than me and you believe certain things that are different than me, don't make you wrong. You might be right. You might help me and educate me and make me better. So I want the nation to understand that when you listening to this show, you never know what you're going to get. Because when you think I might disagree, you might be in for a surprise. It's about fairness and looking out for everybody, not just a few of us. Hold on to that thought, and I'll talk to y'all in 22 hours. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.